in one.
Yeah. Okay, 3, 2, 1. We are live, back with Coffee Break with Coachman, speaking directly from Madrid, Spain, and having today my friend Kyle Stanley, Dr. Kyle Stanley, speaking from Beverly Hills, Los Angeles, California. Many hours behind me, but completely focused and ready for this chat, I'm sure. Kyle is a friend since many years, is not only a friend, but a collaborator as well. We've been working together on articles, on some different topics of research. We are part of a group that we call Orofacial Club. We publish a lot about smile design topics. And of course, we also into technology. And specifically today, I invited Kyle to really explore the topic of artificial intelligence. As I was mentioned before this interview, I believe this is one of the hot topics that will really be one of the main topics of the next few years in dentistry. And Kyle is the co-founder of a company that is investing specifically on that. So it's going to be very interesting to understand how we can benefit from artificial intelligence and how our patients can see value. This is one of the main topics I want to explore with Kyle as a new offering, as something that can generate and differentiate ourselves in the middle of this crisis. After the crisis, you know, how can we add new value to our offerings to really make the patient say, wow, this is my dentist. So first of all, Kyle, please, thank you so much for being here with us. I always have a lot of fun chatting with you. Thanks for your time. I believe the DSD community already knows you pretty well, but say hello to everybody. Say hello to our DSD community, and
Hey guys,
a background of who is Kyle.
How's it going? So I'm Kyle. I practice in Beverly Hills, California. I like to do kind of perio-pros, everything from implant placement to the aesthetic part of things. I'm a speaker, and like Christian said, I co-founded a software company called Pearl, which is focused on artificial intelligence in dentistry. So it's a pleasure to be here. It's always fun to talk with you, Christian, and I'm happy to get into this and maybe give some insight into this topic that I think a lot of people don't understand. I didn't understand before I got into it. So to tell you what I've learned over the last about 4 or 5 years.
Fantastic. So before we get into the main topic, I just, since we are living such an important moment in our history, such a tough moment, even very tough on dentistry. I believe dentistry is going to really get hit in a special way by this crisis, unfortunately. And, the dental world is really under a lot of pressure. Every dentist office owner that I know is like question marks all over. What is your take on this crisis? What is your feeling about what is happening, your perspective? What do you think is going to happen, with the dental world?
Well, I think 2 major things are going to happen. One is that we are going to be looked at by the general population as being part of the medical community again. I think this is going to help. And this was something that I mentioned the other day when we were talking about infection control. I think that patients are going to realize what we've been doing every day for decades: sterilization and washing our hands and sterile gloves, and especially with surgery, what we've been doing in the dental world, and realize how high we are in our infection control already. I think that will be one of the good things that comes out of it. I think another thing that's going to come out of it is the separation of the types of dentistry. So right now, if you think we have 3 different types, let's say we have kind of fast and cheap, middle, fair prices and okay quality, and then we have super high prices and super high quality.
Mm-hmm.
I unfortunately think that middle ground is going to go away. I think that dentistry is going to get more expensive because we're going to have to use different cleaning supplies and different gowns and this and that. And so it's going to separate people that you're either going to have to be in this kind of high end, super high quality, or low end and fast. And I think that's a bad thing. My father's practice was in that middle ground. He had a great life. He's still alive, but he had a great career.
Mm-hmm.
He did good work. He didn't do amazing work, right? He did good work. He had fair prices and he had a good business. So I think that's going to be hard on, let's say, the middle class of dentistry.
Yeah, it's gonna the traditional way of graduating and opening an office and just be average dentist that model will be under pressure a little bit more. We were already under that model was already under pressure with everything else that was happening with corporate dentistry and technologies and consumer behavior changes. And I agree with you. I think that this crisis will speed up the process of defining, these 2 areas. Actually, I would create, there's 3 areas. You can do like super low level, simple, super cheap dentistry because of the world requires that. There will always be room for that. You're gonna have always room for the high end, dentistry. The super sophisticated, exclusive, boutique, special, unique, charismatic type of dental office. And in between, what is going to happen is that instead of having many single dentists, what you're going to have is probably the corporate world taking care of that middle area, bigger offices, bigger structures, with the possibility
buying power.
Buying power and so on. So I agree. That's probably, we don't know, many things can change. Everything is changing every week, right? So but it's a feeling that I share with you. But anyway.
I think to kind of bring it back to this topic, technology is really going to be an intimate part of the workflows that's needed now. More things are going to be remote. More things are going to be asynchronous, and that's where technology is going to come in.
Yeah, definitely. This is going to probably speed up a couple of trends that were already happening, taking a little bit more before. And with this, the virus will just push the transition, shorten the transition phase for some things. Anyway, we have people.
Well, I know, for example, like when you were talking with Philippe from Dental Monitoring, everything he's doing went way up because everybody's doing everything remotely now. And I think that's good for that technology, because people are going to realize what they can do remotely. And I think that's good for dentists.
Now, tell me also, how has been your mood handling, your emotional, your emotions during these times personally?
Okay, so at first it was very bad, mostly because I'm highly leveraged. I have a lot of debt. So, coming out of school with $500,000 in debt, I have a home mortgage in debt. I have cars that are in debt. I have practice loans that are in debt. I have a very high monthly amount of money that I have to pay. So when I have no income, I got very scared. I told my wife, like, in 2 months, we're going to have no money. And like, we're not going to be able to buy food, nothing. And then luckily, a lot of the banks are allowing us to defer payments. So once I didn't have the money stress, I kind of like it. I mean, besides, you know, it's terrible that people are sick and people are dying and people are stressed out and all of that. I get to be home with my family, my dog. I'm pretty relaxed, you know. I'm exercising every day. I get to go in the sun. The weather's been great in LA. So I told my wife, I kind of hope it goes on for a little longer. At least as long as I can delay my payments on my loans, I'm okay with being home.
Yeah.
Because, you know, we're all around the world, you know, flying everywhere, that I needed this break, I think.
Yeah. No, I never felt healthier. I don't know, maybe for the last 5 years in my life. You know, I'm really sleeping more and staying at home, not going out. And anyway, and what you know, I know that you're a super busy guy. You know, you have many projects going on, and handling all these projects with the normal life from before was crazy, right? Life was crazy, and your, you know, was crazy as well. Now with this more calm setup, what project have you been investing time on? The specific projects, you know, what are you investing? How are you investing your time?
Yeah, so I'm working probably more than 40 hours a week still, probably 50 or 60 right now. Doing a lot with Pearl, actually. And I'm also working on research, trying to get a lot of that done. And then I'm going through and like updating all my slides and references and changing fonts and making things look good. Also doing stuff around the house that I've been meaning to do for years. But most of my time right now is spent on Pearl because we can do everything remotely.
So let's jump into Pearl. What is Pearl? How Pearl started? How did you get into this project?
Yeah, so Pearl is an artificial intelligence company that's focused on dentistry. And we were spun out of a bigger company, a company called Gum Gum, that one of my patients and my co-founder founded in 2008. So that company was focused on the media space, applying something called computer vision. We'll talk about computer vision a lot. That's allowing computers to see. He started that company in 2008, grew it to several $100 million in revenue per year, working with, you know, 85% of the top Fortune 100 companies. And basically what they did and what they still do now is analyze every image on the internet, realize what's inside of it, and then they can use that for a multitude of different tasks. They can sell ad space based on that. So if you see a Toyota ad, or if you see a picture of a Toyota on the LA Times, let's say, they analyze what's in that, and then they can sell ad space under it for, you know, an in-person Toyota drive, or BMW. Maybe they want to advertise on top of that. They can also use it for brand safety. So let's say you don't want any of your ads to come up on pages that have a swastika or a naked lady or a machine gun. So they built a pretty big company, you know, a few $100 million in revenue every year. And then about a little over 4 years ago, the CEO of that company, his name's Ophir, my co-founder.
Basically a company that interprets images.
Yes.
And identify what is in the image.
Yeah, in real time, and sold ad space in real time. So by the time you refresh the image, or by the time you open up the webinar, they've already, not the webinar, the web page, they've analyzed what's in the image and sold the ad space and put the ad up. So pretty crazy. Yeah, and this is, you know, every image on the internet. So it was a very big company, and still a very big company that's going well. My patient Ophir, who's talked to me during a hygiene check. Okay, so he said, "Hey, you know, Kyle, I'm thinking of incorporating dentistry into what we do at Gum Gum. Would you want to help me?" I said, "Yeah, sure, sounds good. I don't know anything about artificial intelligence, but I know a little bit about dentistry." So we started collecting what is now, as to our knowledge, the largest labeled set of dental radiographs in the world. We ended up spinning that company out of Gum Gum We raised $11 million from Craft Ventures, a venture capital firm in Silicon Valley, who's led by a guy named David Sachs, who's actually one of the founders of PayPal. He sold a company called Yammer for a few $1 billion, really a top tier VC. And we've been focusing now for the last almost year as Pearl, but we've been doing this for about 4 years. And now Pearl is applying that same type of computer vision. So again, seeing, allowing a computer to see, to different categories in the dental space.
Mm-hmm. So what was the first project of Pearl? What was the first goal of what you guys were, before we get into what you guys are doing now, the first?
Sure. So the first project, which is still happening and happening in real time, is analyzing periapicals and bite wings to see everything that you or I would see on a radiograph. So image analysis that is unbiased, that is highly standardized, so that you get the same report every time. You know, like what I realized with AI, I guess what I realized with humans is that we're great at a lot of things, right? We're great at thinking with our right brain. We're great at the artistic aspect of it, talking with patients, empathy, all these things that really make us human, but we're not good at standards. We're not good at doing the same thing in the morning as we are at night. We're not good at interpreting things the same. You know, I always say, you ask 10 dentists, you get 11 different opinions.
Yeah.
And that is difficult for patients.
Yeah.
And we've all been there. We all have a patient that comes in and say, well, the last dentist said this, or the last dentist said this, you know, well, why don't you guys agree?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so we wanted to have a standard of care in reading dental radiographs. And I think, I don't remember who said this quote, but there's a quote that says there's only one diagnosis, but there can be many, many treatments.
Mm-hmm.
And so I wanted to bring that in and say, yes, there's one diagnosis here. And what the AI sees,
at least standardize the diagnostics. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, because, you know, treatment is different. You can do something different. I can do something different, and we can both get great outcomes depending on what we can do with our hands, what our knowledge is, what our background is. So that was our first project.
And with this kind of technology, so basically you started with X-ray analysis, right?
Yeah.
And and what were the first things that came to your mind, because you were the dentist in the project, right?
Yeah.
So we probably asked you, when you look at an X-ray, what are you trying to see? You know, what are the categories here? What are we gonna try to identify as a standard repetitive situation that we can teach the computer, right?
Yeah. So I started with things that are, you know, I think the biggest problems in dentistry, which are caries and periodontal disease. So we looked at things like, you know, different types of caries into enamel, caries into dentin, caries into the pulp or approaching the pulp. We look at calculus, bone loss, widened periodontal ligaments, periapical radiolucencies. There's almost 25 different classes that we look at now, but that was what we started with.
So nowadays you have 25 things that through the technology can consistently see, and
yeah.
What is the difference in terms of precision on this diagnosis between you, a good dentist looking at the X-ray, and the technology today?
Yeah, so in AI, we look at things with precision and accuracy. Kind of, there's two different things. So there's recall and there's precision, right? How many times do you find it? And when you find it, is it correct? And there's two things that we have to look at with that. What we have done, and we're publishing this in some journals right now, is we've proven that the AI is indistinguishable from a dentist. So if I looked at a radiograph, you looked at a radiograph, your dad and my dad all looked at a radiograph, And then we had the AI, right? So we had 4 dentists and the AI. You wouldn't be able to tell the difference. The difference would be that the AI would give us the same result every time, and all of us humans would give different results. And we've actually tested this as well. We've given radiographs to dentists and then asked them to remark them 2 weeks later, and they only agree with themselves 70% of the time.
So
I only agree with myself 70% of the time.
So that means I look at an X-ray today. I make an interpretation. I think this is what I'm seeing. I make notes of it. I forget about that X-ray, and in 1 month, by chance, I look at the same X-ray, and somebody else asks me, "What do you see here?" 2/3 of the times I say the same thing. 1/3 of the times I'm saying a different thing. X-ray.
That's right. That's right. And that's with yourself. When let's say you and I look at 2 X-rays, we only agree with each other at something like 14 to 30% of the time.
Wow, 14 to 30.
Yeah, and that's with 2. Every time you add another one, it goes down.
So if you have so the computer, the artificial intelligence will first read the X-ray and read today, in 1 year or in 10 years, and will give you the same response. Will not change their mind. The computer's not going to change its mind.
Yeah, well, yes and no. Yes and no, because the difference with AI is that it's always getting better.
Yeah.
So it may have a different view in a few years, but that's because it's had millions of input that's come in that's made it better. So it only gets better.
That's a great statement. We humans, we look at things and we change our mind. We have different interpretations.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that the new interpretation is better than the old one.
Right.
Just different.
Yeah, now, we can go up or down.
The computer will always change their interpretation for better, because they're adding more knowledge to the process of interpretation.
Yeah, because every time, let's say you have the technology, you bring up a radiograph, it shows you some boxes. If you mark that they're correct, we just learned. If you mark that they're wrong, we just learned. So every time there's a feedback loop, the computer gets better.
I made note of this sentence. Notes of the best highlights of every interview. Computers only change their mind for better.
Yeah.
That will be part of our highlights for sure. So explain to us, if somebody would ask you, give me a definition of artificial intelligence, what would be the definition of artificial intelligence for you?
Yeah, so it would be the computer's ability to learn without being necessarily trained. Okay, so inputting something to a computer and it getting better without you telling it how to get better. Now, there is a misunderstanding with that, in that you just give the computer a bunch of images and it learns everything, and that's not necessarily true. That's one of the difficult parts about an AI
work, right? There's a lot of human work.
Behind the scenes, and this was why we were able to scale so quickly, is because we had all of the infrastructure from GumGum, the previous company. It's almost like a company within a company. You know, we have thousands of dentists around the world that are putting boxes on images or on intraoral scans or on, insurance claims. And once you give it enough images, then the computer starts to recognize patterns. So the computer needs the human at first, and then it starts getting better without the human over time.
Yeah. You need to create the system to allow the computer to make the interpretation, right?
That's right. Yeah.
So, the question that you mentioned, what is the current state of AI, and what type of AI is being used in dentistry?
Yeah. So good question. Well, AI is all around us, right? Everywhere. If you have the new iPhone, you have AI in your phone. It actually takes 8 images. When you pick up your phone, right? I have an older one, but when you pick up your phone, it takes 8 images before you take your first image, and then it selects the best pixels in that image so you get the best image. And so we have AI built into things like phones. If you have Alexa or Siri, you're using something called natural language processing. And so you can think of AI in the different sectors right now, even outside of dentistry, based on our own senses, right? So computer vision, what we do, is seeing, allowing the computer to see. Natural language processing is allowing the computer to hear. So I think AI first started, in the general public, let's say, with natural language processing. Natural language processing like Alexa and Siri. And that is also happening in the dental space too. So there's a few companies that are using natural language processing to automate, not necessarily automate, let's say make things easier in the dental office. So one thing that there's a company, I forget what their name is, they listen to you when you're doing probing depths, which is such a simple thing, but such a pain in everybody's side, right? You either have to go, okay, 3, 2, 3, 3, 2, 3, and then you have to put it into your computer, 3, 2, 3, 3, 2, 3, or you have to have an assistant there, which is expensive, right? So with this company, you just say all of the whatever you're saying, it brings it in and immediately charts it for you. I think that's super cool. There's another company that is listening to phone calls and analyzing what's happening in your phone calls and why maybe patients aren't making appointments, or why, what your front office is doing that is limiting patients from going through a treatment, let's say. Because many of us, and at my office, we record our phone calls too, but the problem is we don't have time to go back and listen to every phone call. So what natural language processing can do is listen to everything,
doing the hard
job, and then pointing out maybe, hey, these are the 3 phone calls you should probably listen to where you're going to get the most value.
Computer is actually getting into some conclusions,
Yeah. So that's natural language processing. And then I think what's coming in right now is what we're doing and some other companies are doing. Like Floor and Kofar has Smile Cloud using computer vision as well with AI. So that's coming in, and I think computer vision is really what's going to change the perception of AI in dentistry, because it's very powerful.
So how will this change the dental space, and who do you think will benefit from it? How are we going to take advantage of this?
Well, I think it's really going to change the dental space. I think the more I learned about AI, the more I realized it's going to change our whole lives. Outside of dentistry too. When you think of things like self-driving cars and that, but in dentistry, we're focused on a few different sectors of dentistry. So we have the doctor, let's say, private practitioners, DSOs, insurance companies, and labs. So what we are doing is for let's say the private dentist, is we have a product called Second Opinion, and Second Opinion is digitally reading the radiographs, right, as you go. So in real time, you just took a radiograph, it's going to come up and show you what it finds, and we call it Second Opinion because it really should be a second opinion. The human is the first opinion, but it's like, someone, an expert looking over your shoulder, a radiologist looking over your shoulder and saying, hey, did you see that mesial caries on number 19? That is what I think is going to infiltrate into every dental office in the world very soon. And it's not going to be something that you're going to have to get some new technology, right? It'll be integrated into the sensors that you're already using, or the software that you're already using. Then in let's say the group practice or DSO space, we're using AI to analyze every image that is on the server. So if you have 500 offices, you can look at every image that's taken and start to see trends. start to say, why is my office in LA have so many more perio patients, or patients with bone loss and calculus, but we have less patients in perio treatment? What's going on there? Is that a front office problem? Is it, do we need to bring in a specialist? Start seeing trends. So we call that practice intelligence. And that's really data-driven numbers on your practice that aren't biased and that aren't, emotional or a guess. Because right now, if I went to my front office and I said, Lucy, how many patients do we have that have bone loss or that are in perio treatment? She'd be like, I don't know, let's say 10%. It's just an opinion. But with numbers, we start to bring the truth to dentistry, and that the truth is a big thing that's going to happen with dentistry. And I think it we can talk about it more when we talk about there was a question in there.
But so how do we call it this second category? The second
product is practice intelligence.
Practice intelligence.
Yeah. So another thing with practice intelligence that we're doing is we're analyzing intraoral scans, so preps, let's say, and scoring the preps, which is another thing bringing truth to dentistry. So with AI, you won't be able to hide whether you're doing good or you're doing bad.
Quality
you're going to know.
Automated.
Everybody. That's exactly right. So this is especially important on group practices. So you can bring in a doctor and say, how is this doctor diagnosing? Let's say a new doctor directly out of school. How is Dr. A diagnosing in relation to Dr. B, who's been practicing for 10 or 20 years? How are they prepping? How are their margins? And not just a biased version, but an unbiased version that will tell you, here you prepped and this was a 90%, and here you prepped and this was a 30. Your average is a 46%. Maybe we need to train you on how to do intraoral scans or how to prep margins better, how to do retraction cord. And I think that's scary for a lot of doctors because
that's amazing.
Most of us would rather be naked in the street than have someone look at our preps and critique it. But ultimately, it allows us to get better.
Yeah. And I think that the owners of dental offices will not really care if the dentist working for them is scared or not. He will want to see the quality control and the numbers and the trends. And there's no way back. That's definitely something that is going to be much more controlled.
Yeah.
As you said at the beginning, we know how unpredictable diagnostics and treatment planning is in dentistry. And if you go to 50 dentists, you will hear 50 plans and have 50 different estimates, and that's not bad ethics. It's just that dentistry is very difficult. It's multifactorial. It's very difficult to pick everything. It's very difficult to see everything, and this technology will allow patients to feel more confident. So I believe that patients will almost kind of demand that their office use this technology, right? Do you have an idea of direct-to-consumer awareness to have the consumer to really understand the benefit of going to a dentist that is taking the risk, of using this technology to point out how can they improve?
Yeah, well, what we found when doctors start using this is they don't want to give it up. So, in some of our beta testing, we'll do trials, right? Okay, here you can have it for a month and try it. And they're like, no, I got really comfortable with that. And the same thing with patients is, I think you can talk to the patient, how charismatic you are. It helps to say, Mrs. Jones, I think you have a cavity here. And I don't just think this, but 1,000 dental brains from around the world would agree with this. And you can even give them a confidence score at a 90% confidence. Or you can look at things, and that's one of the good things about AI is you get a confidence score with each reading. So you can look at something and say, it says you have caries here, but it's only at a 30% confidence. based on my experience, I think we should leave this, and we can analyze it at your next radiograph. When we take a radiograph, we'll be able to see the percentage of increase of size in pixels, but also if the confidence score goes up too.
So that's another question for you, because you just touched another point, because you're, until now we were talking about looking at an image and interpreting that image. Now, if you have a patient that is coming to you several times, can this technology already compare image in the same patient and start to see a trend, starting to see a curve, an evolution, or if it's static? If it's...
well, that's what we're doing with Practice Intelligence. So it can even do things like, let's say we have 4 years of radiographs, right? 4 years of bite wings on a patient. We can look at things and make a diagnosis in the first one and say, okay, this carries into enamel. But then in the next year, there's a crown there. So is there over-treatment happening? Is there unethical things happening? Or is there under-treatment happening? And so we can bring this up to the doctors as a way of mitigating their risk. And this is really important for group practices, because many DSOs are owned by private equity. And so the private equity firms are actually coming to us and saying, we want to make sure that we're not at risk for being sued.
That was my question. Insurance companies,
What's that?
This starts insurance companies.
Yes. So we're doing a lot with insurance.
They probably want to go back and say, okay, doctor, you're saying this and this and this. Let me see what your artificial intelligence is saying.
Yeah, so we're doing a few things with insurance companies, and I think it's going to really change the insurance sector. And a lot of people say, we work with both dentists on this side, and we work with insurance companies. And a lot of people are worried about that. They're saying, well, if you work with the insurance company, then you're going to be able to, deny more of our claims. And what I say to that is, we're bringing the truth to dentistry. So if your claim should have been denied, it should be denied. But what's also happening is they're denying things that shouldn't be denied. And the insurance company says the same thing. Oh no, you're going to make us approve more claims, right? And the answer is, on both sides, yes, we're going to do whatever is truth. We think about ourselves and how AI should be as Switzerland.
It's going to be
AI.
Go ahead.
AI should bring the truth to dentistry, and whatever happens. So like, we were talking with one of our insurance clients last week, and they were saying, well, you may be approving more of our perio cases. That's not good for our business. I said, but these patients need perio treatment, so you should be approving them. And so it just brings the truth to everything. It goes back to that whole overall idea that AI will bring the truth, and we won't be able to hide. Labs won't be able to hide. Doctors won't be able to hide. Insurance companies won't be able to hide. Anything bad is going to come out, and anything good is going to come out. So one of the things that we're doing with insurance companies is looking at fraud and analyzing doctors that are committing fraud. And this is a thing that I'm passionate about, because we talked about it on the other Skype we had a few days ago. Is we don't have a good general view of dentistry. The end consumer doesn't, right? They think we're these kind of bumbling idiots. They think that we're always trying to screw them. They think we're never telling the truth. And there are dentists like that. And if they're committing insurance fraud, I don't want them in our profession anymore, because they're giving us good dentists a bad name.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Now, it's interesting here, because I can definitely see, as you start talking about this, that artificial intelligence will be able to do this quality control process, to really identify the quality of your calls and the quality of your procedures. Basically two calls, right? The quality of what you're seeing or interpreting and the quality of what you're executing, and really reading these images and getting into conclusions is going to be like the black box,
Yeah.
of dentistry, right? Now, I can see dentists saying, "Oh my God, I don't like this technology because what you say, insurance companies will deny my claims. In lawsuits, the judge will be able to identify the truth or the problem, mistake that I did. And I'm not going to be able to, with my words, to fight against this." But it's exactly the other side as well. If you're right, you're gonna win more, and if you're
Yeah.
wrong, you're gonna lose more.
Yeah.
So
That's exactly right. Ethical people that do good work will excel. Shysters that do bad work and are trying to, overtreat or get paid for things they're not doing, they'll do worse.
yeah. Now, just a question. Maybe we probably don't have the answer, but just to see if you have a feeling on that. Related to claims and lawsuits. Related to claims first. Do you think that most of the claims, the dentist is right, or that because if we start using this technology, let's say in 5 years, this technology will say that from 100 claims, from a million claims, 60% of the time the dentist deserved and was right, and 40% was wrong, and the technology fixed the mistake.
Are you talking about insurance claims?
Insurance claims.
Insurance claims, yeah.
And
So,
then I think most of the lawsuits, the dentists complain so much about lawsuits, in the US more than ever. This is a nightmare. Patients are crazy. They can sue us for anything, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
If we had the perfect technology to identify who's right, do you think most of the lawsuits will go in favor of the dentist or in favor of the patient?
I think for lawsuits, they'll go in favor of the dentist, because most dentists are good, hardworking, love what they do, always trying to do the best. There's very few dentists that are bullshitters, that are trying to, just get money from people, and they're out there for sure. But those are the people that everybody thinks we are. And by analyzing and identifying these people, it's gonna like put them in a bubble.
Protect the profession. Yeah.
Exactly. And that's something that I'm really passionate about.
Well, yeah, that part of the lawsuit, I think that is great. Imagine if the dentist, every time he gets a lawsuit, he could press a button that comes with the truth and say, patient, judge, lawyer, this is the truth.
Yeah.
Let's not waste time. Let's not waste money. Finish.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. That's exactly right. And I think you're going to use in the lawsuit realm, let's say, you're going to use AI as the expert witness now.
Yeah.
And oftentimes you have these expert witnesses both on the dentist side and on the patient side, and they always have an agenda. They're always biased. But when you bring in,
and there's a lot of guessing as well.
Yes. Yeah. If you're not in the room, I mean, it's very difficult to say, what happened, right? But if we have, intraoral scans, radiographs, videos, let's say, because I think where things are going is actually videoing every procedure. And we can talk about that more if you want to. There's always going to be truth.
Now, if you video every procedure, the truth is there. It's just that's great. No, I really like that. So, and on the claims, on the insurance claims, you also think that at the end, most of the times will be more favorable to the dentist, because most of the dentists are right on their claims.
Most of the time, yes. So what it's going to do is, there's a lot of fraud that happens in dental insurance. We were in the Wall Street Journal, I don't know, a few months ago, and one of our clients came on record, said 17 to 20% of their claims are fraud based on using our technology. So once we get all of those out of the way, once we get the fraud out of the way, most of the claims, I think, will go to the dentist. And this is the interesting thing about insurance that I didn't realize before we started doing this a few years ago. Most insurance companies only look at, a human only looks at let's say 1 to 7% of the claims going through. So, some clients have 40 million claims a year. They only look at 1% or even 7% at the high realm. Everything else, is being automated somehow. So with AI, you can look at 100% of the claims that come with an image and make the correct decision based on the truth.
Or at least raise the yellow flag, or
For sure. Yeah.
So
and what we're doing now with that too is like, okay, the AI sees something weird or something that doesn't necessarily match. Okay, now that goes to the human. So at least that 7% that are seen by the human, those are the ones that should be seen by a human.
Fantastic. I got it. So you talked about the impact on single clinicians. You talk about the impact on DSOs. You talk about the impact on insurances and lawsuits. There was more. There was
labs.
Labs, yes.
Yeah.
How labs will benefit from artificial intelligence?
So currently, I'll tell you what we're doing, then I'll tell you what else is happening outside of what we're doing. So currently what we're doing is something called scan quality score, where we're analyzing intraoral scans and even from benchtop scanners too, and giving the prep and the margin a score. So having this unbiased analysis and then automatically marking the margin. So again, this brings the truth, because as a lab technician,
that's huge.
That you charge the same amount whether they give you a terrible prep or an amazing prep, and maybe that shouldn't be the case, right? So some of our clients are actually incentivizing their doctors and saying, if you fall in the highest bucket, we'll actually give you a discount because it's going to take us less time.
The best, because technicians could have done that before with their interpretation and say, doctor, if I rate your prep and your impression 7 or above, I will charge you a little bit less.
Yeah.
But then it's about interpretation, and then it's a fight 100% of the time,
Right.
And what this is going to make is going to protect the conversation, because doctor, I'm sorry, it's not me, it's not me saying this is an automated answer saying that your prep is not good here and here. The technician may even say, I didn't even see it yet. I don't even know. It's the ball is back to your hands, because the system is giving you back the ball because you need to improve your part before to me.
It's again the truth. And what's cool, what we're doing right now is, we work with a lot of big labs that are getting, thousands of scans a day. And they have factories of people that are just going around and marking a margin, right? And this is something that is repetitive. It's something that doesn't really take a human. So what you can do is have that be automated and have it be done with a standard, the same time every time, and take those humans and put them on things that require the artistic ability, right? Either put them on stain and glaze, put them on the people that want to stack porcelain, or put them on customer service, somewhere where you really need a human, and take that automation point and really automate that. So what a lot of our labs are doing now is, like one of our labs here in California, I forget what they do, like 1,500 scans a day, something. The scans come in, they are automatically bucketed. So they're put into different buckets, right? Let's say 60 to 90 or 60 to 100%, 40 to 60, and 39 and below.
In terms of quality.
Yeah. In terms of quality, yeah. And that's based on the margin. And then what they'll do is,
so you're talking about 100% visibility of the margin. Not prep design.
It's based more on the margin. Yeah, there's a little bit of prep design in there, shoulder and that kind of thing, but a lot of it is based on the margin. Yeah, so how good is the margin? How even is it? How visible is it above the gingiva, below the gingiva, et cetera, et cetera? And it scores that. Then what you can do is you can set a threshold at the top and say, everything above 70%, I want to be automatically marginated, right? Everything below 10%, let's automatically send it back to the doctor. And not only send it back to them, but send it back to them with a video, rotating video that shows them color coded where they're going wrong.
Mm-hmm.
So what a lot of our labs were doing before this is they had a customer service person call and say, hey, Dr. Smith, we noticed that on the mesiodistal, we couldn't decipher the margin. Please let us know what you want to do. Now that's all automated. They don't have to do anything. It comes in, it analyzes it, it sends the email, it sends them a text. They can open it, like on ExoCAD, rotate it around, see where the margin is, and say, go ahead, I think this margin looks good, or let me reprep, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
The highest ones can automatically go through. And then the middle tier, let's say, those are the ones that may still need a human in the loop.
Mm-hmm.
And what happened before this type of technology is that, my best margin marker may get my best preps, which shouldn't happen, right? The best margin marker should get the worst preps,
Mm-hmm.
the ones that need the interpretation. You need to cut the gingiva. So you can route certain buckets.
In funnel, yeah. In funnel the work, like the tricky case, that you can identify the tricky ones, go to the more experienced people.
Exactly.
And the easy ones, production, etc. No, there's plenty of developments and benefits that I can already see happening that are super, super cool. So just to summarize here for the people watching, we talk about the impact of our artificial intelligence and automation for single clinic, for DSOs, for insurance and lawsuits, meaning when I say insurance, means the benefits for the dentists and for the insurance company, whoever is right. And
Right.
when I say lawsuits, the benefit for the dentist or for the patient, whoever is right as well, and the benefits for the labs. Now, I heard that a lot in with my my 10 years lecturing about digital. More in the last today, don't talk about digital. Digital is not good. Digital workflows, digital solutions. Mainly the technicians complaining we're going to lose our job. There's nothing left to us. I make money with this. Don't talk about the solutions. Blah blah blah. Do you see that also? These comments on artificial intelligence, automation. People saying, "Oh, I don't know. I wish this didn't exist because I feel a little bit threatened by this technology."
Yeah, this has happened. People are saying, am I gonna be out of a job, right? Is someone gonna take over being a dentist? Is someone gonna take over being a technician? And no, I don't think that's necessarily true, especially on the dental side. Doing things, it still takes a dentist, even if we bring in robotics. I forget who said this. It was someone from our WhatsApp group that said, like, someone still has to plan the robot. Someone still has to guide the guide. Like,
It was me.
Was it you?
Who is guiding the guided surgery?
Who's guiding the guide? Yeah, and it's the same thing when there's robotics. The robot maybe eventually be able to do this, but someone has to guide the robot. Like you have, the Da Vinci. There's still a doctor in the room, but we are so far away from that in dentistry that.
No, in dentistry in general, of course, we are very, very far away with automation of everything over.
Yeah.
But for example, the process of of interpreting an X-ray. This is probably gonna today with the technology, the level it is. Let's say the technology is helping the dentist to, as a second opinion, to confirm or to make them rethink what they saw.
Yeah.
But do you think we are very close to a point that we will not even think? You're just gonna get a report. You do the imaging, you send to the technology. You're gonna get a report that's not even discussion. There's no way that the human can make a better interpretation of an X-ray than the technology. Are we close?
Yes. I don't think we're close to that yet. I think that it's going to take a while for people to start trusting this because there's an immediate mistrust with any type of technology, right? And once we get full adoption and we have all of the input coming back, we will get to a point where you just can't compete with it.
Mhm.
And we're actually planning on doing some live events like this where we actually have doctors up and they're going to be annotating, and then we have the AI doing it at the same time, and then we analyze it and we see how fast each person does it. And this was something that came from Gum Gum. They used to do the same thing, these live events, right?
So,
Just to show what happens. And on those live events, what you may see is that the AI may find something, but it only finds something at a small confidence. So, for good or for bad.
Mhm. So definitely, if you're a dentist or technician and you're afraid that digital dentistry or artificial intelligence diagnostics and all these new technologies that you're talking will take their job, definitely we are not even close to that. But if you make money only looking at X-rays and saying what you see, you're probably in trouble.
Yeah, I think maybe the only person that needs to be worried is the radiologist. And a lot of companies in medicine are working on AI analysis, similar to what we're doing, but on the medical side for pathology like cancer and things. And oftentimes they're already better and faster and cheaper than the radiologist. So I think that may be the only subspecialty that is at risk.
I think
With that.
radiologists will have a great job at these type of companies, bringing their experience
Oh
to
yeah.
their solutions. But
Yeah.
I want to be a radiologist, and I want to work in a radiology center and just sit down and interpret images and make my little money and go back home and be happy. That job is definitely at risk.
Yeah, for sure. So what AI is going to do is it's going to take out all of the mundane kind of BS that we hate to do, right? So, little things like I was talking about probing depths, right? It's just such an annoying thing that we have to do and type it in. It's going to take that out. Listening to phone calls is going to take that out. Little things like, when I'm using the planning center and they bring in my CT scan and my face scan and my intraoral scan, that'll all be automated. It'll automatically place the implant based on the amount of bone, based on the type of bone. It'll place the style of implant based on the tissue thickness. All of the research comes in to automate this. So what the human will have to do is kind of approve it and say yes. And so what's really good about that is we have so many, you're always multitasking with dentistry, right? Especially if we own our own business, that it'll allow us to focus on what we actually like to do, which is dentistry, I think.
There's actually one question here coming. They're asking if it's similar to dental monitoring, DM from Philippe Salah. You know the technology as well. Dental monitoring is also using artificial intelligence, but
That's exactly right. Yeah.
It's more into the part of teledentistry and virtual consultation, but there is some kind of overlapping in terms that they are also working on interpreting images to do some diagnosis. You guys came more from the X-ray world. They came more from the picture world, probably.
Exactly right. So I know Philippe well. We were in LA together a few months ago, discussing collaborating on things, and they are also using computer vision. So it's the same engine in the background, the same technology, computer vision. They focus on photos. We focus on radiographs and intraoral scans. But yeah, same technology, and that's what's going to be useful.
So that brings to my mind here maybe a few classifications in terms of paths of developments. We need to develop technology to interpret X-rays, meaning radiographic images. That probably includes CDCTs, right? 3D images and scans. So that is, we can even divide. 2D radiographic image is one type of technology. Interpreting 3D image is a different type of technology. Interpreting pictures, it's a different type of technology, and probably interpreting video. I don't know if there's artificial intelligence in dentistry already working in terms of interpreting the motion, the movements, and things like this.
Yeah, so I don't think it's in dentistry yet, but we did that at Gum Gum. We actually analyzed live sports and gave a currency for both a sports team and a sponsor on how much a sponsorship was worth. So imagine you're watching a Real Madrid game and you have, let's say Coca-Cola in the background. Gum Gum analyzed how many milliseconds the Coca-Cola was on the screen, but also where it was in the screen, gave it different value, how big it was in the screen, whether, a good player had the ball or not, and gave a value to sports sponsorship. So I think that's definitely something that will come into dentistry eventually. But yeah, we're already working on, we're doing stuff with panos, we're doing stuff with CBCTs. So all of that is coming.
So we can definitely classify the projects into these 4 areas, 2DX, radiology, 3D, pictures, and motion.
That's right. Mm-hmm.
Fantastic. Kyle, to finish, the last question here, we are a little bit over time. The conversation with you always goes super fast. And I'm enjoying because I love really learning, the right terms of what is really happening and the new trends, etc.
Right.
Where do you see? We have a colleague saying, "I love the chat. I wish I was 20 years younger." AI, great comments from the people. Thanks for watching. Let's just finish with the final question to look into the future. We already brainstormed a little bit about what is about to happen, but let's just allow your creativity and your freedom to take over. And where do you see this technology in 10 years? Because 10 years for this type of moment that we live, I believe is quite a lot. So probably a lot will be already in place in 10 years. How do you see 10 years ahead of us?
Well, 2 words come to mind, and those are one that we've been talking about, which is truth, and the other, which is efficiency. So there's a lot of research happening, and I think in 10 years, what's really going to make the difference is this big data.
So can we change
let's talk
to transparency?
I'm sorry?
Can we change truth to transparency?
Sure. Yeah, I like that. Yeah.
Transparency and efficiency, according to Philippe Salah, are 2 basic principles of Amazon. Everything that they do, every project that they develop, every service that they develop, it has to transmit transparency, efficiency, and another one, convenience. Maybe this is also applied to this technology. It is efficient, and it gives a transparent communication between both sides of the communication process.
Yeah, that's right. So in the efficiency standpoint, we bring in big data. And so what this means, and there's a few universities that we're working with on this, is there is a sensor of some type on everything in the practice. So there's a sensor on the patient, blood pressure, pulse oximetry. There's pressure sensors on them. There's sensors on the chair, right? What angle does this patient like to have their chair at? There's a sensor on every, like an RFID chip on every instrument in your cassette. How often do you pick up that instrument, right? And at what point in the procedure do you pick up that instrument? Do you need to change the order of how you put things into your tray?
Ergonomy.
Yes. And then they're videotaping. Some of these universities are videotaping every procedure that's happening. So imagine you have data coming from every aspect, from the patient, from the doctor, right? What's my blood pressure doing while I'm giving an injection? What's the angle of my neck? What's how often am I picking up this specific instrument? But then you also take into account the patient's data, the patient's genetics. So right now, what happens so often is we get good at a procedure and we do that procedure for every patient, right? Because that's what works in my hands, let's say. But what if we know that this specific technique works better on this patient because of their blood pressure or because of their genetics? So we're going to have more patient-focused procedures, patient-focused treatment plans, instead of kind of doctor-focused treatment plans. Based on you, your age, your gender, your blood pressure, your diet, your social interaction, we're going to know what is going to be the best way to treat this patient.
Like a customized patient-focused procedure.
That's exactly right. Yeah.
And on the efficient, just to emphasize what you just said, just to summarize here, you said, you know, this technology in the future will really help us to be more efficient. Through big data, we will be able to analyze how to take better advantage of ergonomy. That means less waste of time and less waste of energy.
That's exactly right. Yeah. So and it's very little things too that can make a big difference in the patient experience. The patient experience will be so much better, and this is something you always talk about. Customized patient experience. So my patient prefers a specific music. That music will automatically come on when they come in. They prefer their chair at a specific degree. You know, we all have those old patients say like, "No, you can't put my chair back," right? We'll have that customized, that when they walk in with a specific chip, the chair will go to that. It'll be at a specific temperature. We're going to know that this anesthetic works better than this anesthetic, or even this suture or this blade. I mean, you can get so
very specific
on this. And that is where big data comes in.
The coffee, what plays on the TV,
everything.
The type of water with gas, without gas.
And what that will do is allow patients to get better treatment, more treatment, be more comfortable with the dentist. It'll give us a better overall view from the end consumer, because we're going to be more predictable. Because dentistry is so unpredictable. If we can do anything more predictable, that is going to be such a great experience for the patient.
It's easier to convince people to pay for things that are more predictable, you know, to
exactly right.
To change their priorities. We know that's always a big challenge, and that we try today through good communication to overcome that. And we are back to what we are learning from Amazon again. It's transparency, efficiency, convenience, predictability. And if I don't know a modern consumer that doesn't admire the Amazon model of taking care of us, you know?
Yeah.
More and more.
Especially times like now.
Yeah. Yes. So yeah, definitely. And you know, people will say, "Doctor, why you don't have an Amazon type of? Why are you're not taking care of me like Amazon takes care of me?"
Yeah.
With transparency, efficiency, convenience, and predictability.
Yeah.
So that is definitely something that will play a big role. That's great. Wow, that was amazing. I made so many notes. I'm gonna put some summary here. I always do a summary at the end of the week. This interview will definitely be part of this summary. I really want to thank you, Kyle, for your time. I think that was very educational for me, and I hope for everybody watching. We need to understand the future. Actually, we need to understand the next few months ahead of us. So the short-term future, and this technology will help us in many ways very soon. So I hope you guys have a lot of success on your development. I really want you to strongly succeed with this project. And I want you to pay all your debts with this.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, that'd be nice.
Your final words, your final goodbye to the DSD community, my friend.
Yeah, it's been really cool. I think you know, if they're part of the DSD community, they know to you know, look into technology and see how it can help you. You know, whether not even just my company, but any company, anything. I think I'm a big proponent of reducing stress, and I think that technology can make things more predictable and give us less stress and allow us to, you know, be home with our kids more and enjoy our family more. So anytime we can use anything in dentistry to be more predictable and have less stress, I'm a big proponent of it. And I think AI is going to be one of those.
Fantastic. I just want to say something very personal here, but I want to say to you, you know, I always admire you You were always a very cool, smart, young professional that we all knew was going to succeed. But I have to tell you, watching you speak this last hour, I know you for many, many years, and we are always in contact, but I see a different Kyle. I see an even better Kyle in terms of you're more calm, you're more mature, you are really transforming yourself into a even more powerful professional.
Wow, thank you. That really means a lot to me.
See you, my friend. We stay in touch. Say hello to your family, your beautiful family.
Thank
And
you.
I hope that soon we will be together in person.
Okay, I hope so. Ciao.
Ciao,
Thanks,
ciao.
guys.